So welcome to the Authors Clubhouse, Joan. I'm glad we could have you today.
Thank you for inviting me, Erin. This has been quite an honor. Thank you.
Did you have a good time today at the farmers market?
It was fun. Reading to the children and having them look at the books and look at your store. It was just terrific here.
Thanks. You have a very good rapport with the children.
As do you, Erin. Thank you.
You make a good team. We should do this more often. So where are you living now?
Presently, and I should say presently, it's been a while, I've been in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. And actually I've been here about 30-some years, so I could kind of consider myself a Rhode Islander.
Where were you before Rhode Island?
I started out in Cleveland, Ohio, born and raised there, went to college there, the whole thing. Then went to a couple different areas of the country, and job took me here to Rhode Island and never left.
What job was that?
That was with General Electric. I'm actually a product designer.
Wow.
And it's always been a drawing career, and it's been a great career, and now with the books I'm having a heck of a time with it.
Great. So you're an author and an illustrator.
Author and illustrator.
And
the writing part is the challenge. The drawing part has been a lot of fun.
Okay, so did you start out as you started out as an author and you started out as an illustrator and went into being an author?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, first of all, what kind of products did you design?
Well, right from college I went to Detroit, where I designed automobiles. And GM hired me as their first exterior designer. That means you design the outside of an automobile. Mostly ladies were hired to do cloth material inside. I love reflections, so this is why I love to do the hard material exterior outside. So that was my first job, and it was wonderful. I had a great time with it.
That's really interesting, because I notice in a lot of your illustrations there's a lot of reflection.
A lot of reflection, yes, the chrome part of the...
And as an illustrator myself, I dread doing reflections.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's very challenging for me. But
wow.
So you went from the car industry.
The car industry took me to General Motors, and then I went to General Electric. In fact, I was always going to write a book about my life with the Generals.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
It would have been fun, but right now I'm just thoroughly enjoying children's books rather than the Generals.
Right.
So
now, what did you do for General Electric?
General Electric took me to many different places. I used to design radios, televisions, phonographs, if you remember those things, refrigerators, ranges, and they had asked me, because General Electric is so big in many different areas, Bridgeport, Louisville, what am I missing? Syracuse, New York. They had found out that, again, there were very few women, and they had a product of chimes that was being developed here in Rhode Island with the General Electric wiring devices. So that brought me to Rhode Island and did that project and basically never left the area.
And I have to ask you, why did you stay? Did you stay for the job?
I stayed, yeah. I moved literally here for that position and did quite a few things with General Electric wiring devices. And then I quit that and just started my own freelance business.
And you stayed in Rhode Island because?
I love this area.
Really? What do you love about it?
I really don't mind the weather. It's it's challenging cold. We don't have too many tornadoes, but I also love the fact you can get to New York City so quickly, you can get to Boston so quickly. It's kind of a wonderful little area, kind of a best-kept secret. Rhode Island is a best-kept secret.
Yeah, it does have a lot of good nooks and crannies.
It does.
And it is a great place if you're an artist.
Exactly.
So Joan, when you write, do you write out longhand or do you go on a typewriter? I said typewriter. I meant do you go on a laptop computer?
I remember those typewriters.
Yes.
I was not good at typewriting. No, I start out by hand. And of course I've got my illustrations, sketches, and I start to write by hand, longhand. And then what I do is actually I start to put it on the computer, my story. Then what I do is cut out those pieces, paragraphs, because I might move my story around. And with my picture, I cut out that statement and I move, just on a piece of paper with some Scotch tape, I move that whichever way I want on my picture. And I maybe, like I said, I was knowing we're supposed to keep changing our story, not we're supposed to, you want to keep changing your story. So all I do is I just rip that off and put a new page or put a new script down. So it's constantly changing. And even when I think it's finished, I can slip my, I have a loose leaf notebook that I put my drawings in and my story. And I keep doing this because I go into the page, rip it out, add another one. And I usually do that in my studio. I've got a drawing studio and keep everything pretty much around me. It's a mess. It's really cluttered, but I can't work any other way because if I want something, I got to have this or that drawing or that pencil or that paintbrush. So pretty much it's a lot by hand. So I basically get done with the book, put it into the computer when I do the tweaking, I call it, of airbrushing and putting the words in. I use InDesign for my program software to put it into a book form.
I have to ask you, what brought you into writing children's books?
Children's books were always a fascination to me. I thought it was time in my life to do something different, which I enjoyed the product design. I still do. I still do a lot of work for different companies, but I wanted to get that part out. I actually had a frustration as a child with Christmas. I don't know if I should or show you one
Absolutely.
of the stories. The frustration when I was a child, I couldn't figure out how Santa Claus would get into my home in Cleveland, which is where I grew up, and I didn't have a chimney. And I figured out that maybe he might have come in to my home this way. And all I know is now I can sleep at night thinking he might have gotten in my home this way. And this, if I was curious, I'm sure others were curious. So I developed a story about Santa, who is still the red little guy that we love so well, but with the help of the magic scepter, which he's holding because he knows the magic, he is invisible. He turns blue and turns invisible, like the sky is blue, the snowflakes. He's camouflaged.
So I was going to say, so he camouflages.
Right.
And so he goes through the keyhole. Is that what you thought as a child? He went through the keyhole?
Yes. Yeah. So I thought maybe this would help other children who don't have chimneys or a small chimney. I mean, Santa can come in other ways, but he came into my book this way.
This is good. I did always wonder as a child because I didn't have a chimney either.
So
I wondered as well.
Right.
Well, that's quite interesting. So your illustrations are beautiful.
Thank
I have
you.
to say. Do you use watercolor?
With industrial design, which is product designing, we use a lot of magic markers. So I get some nice brilliant colors with that ink. And so I do a lot of the drawings with the inks. I do the pencil.
Do you use Prismacolor?
I do some Prismacolor, mostly the magic markers, the ink felt tip pens, the broad tip. I don't like the pointed tip, I like the broad. And then what I do is I scan it into Photoshop, the computer, and I do my airbrushing. And it makes a lot of sense because, yes, I could do it in chalk, but the airbrushing gives it a quality that is permanent. And there are certain areas that could never be done except through the airbrushing of a Photoshop.
Now I see you have a theme that goes through each one of your books, and the circle on the front, and I see how there's a metallic that you'd see on the outside of a car.
Because of my automobile
Yeah,
background.
you're very good at that.
And of course,
that
it's
chrome
a
look.
series, so you want to keep the book the same look, only that it's the magic scepter, which has different characters that need help to help the magic scepter.
And they all need help, and that's great because kids will pick up a book to look for help. So
Exactly.
all of your books have a theme where, well, it looks like there's a lot of holiday books.
I do have the Christmas, Easter, Halloween. Those are the biggest 3 holidays. And now I just came out with the Tina the Tiny Tooth Fairy. And she's a little fairy that needs help because she's so small she can't even drag those teeth. So she needs the help of the magic scepter to give her that magic that can make her do what she's supposed to do and collect teeth from all the children.
Very nice.
which she also takes, I just thought you'd want to know this, takes those collected teeth and throws them up in the air, and they're made into distant stars.
I was wondering where stars came from.
Yeah, there you know.
So you wrote 4 books so far.
So far.
And you illustrated them.
I've got one on the drawing board right now. I don't even know the name of the character yet, but it will be the Magic Scepter and something to do with birthdays.
Okay. Now, when you do characters, when you write about a character, how do you do do you do character development?
Yes. Yeah, I have to do the character. I'm more visual than I am, more drawing than I am writing. I really like to tell a story by the pictures, develop a whole story almost without words. So I develop a little character first, and then I see what that little character looks like, and it takes me into different areas and avenues of where that little character has a problem and how it's going to be resolved. Then the writing will come in, and I enjoy that part because it's so challenging, and I want to get that part done.
Now, you had said earlier that you had a challenge with reading as a younger child?
I did. I kept adding words and subtracting words, and I have come to find out, I took a test, and I'm mild to moderate dyslexic.
Isn't that amazing? You
It's
became
incredible.
a writer and you were dyslexic.
So now, yes, I could be the poster child.
So you can overcome barriers.
You can. Good point.
So yeah, you have quite a few books to show for it. So yes, you can overcome barriers.
You can. And I even have some of that in here. A little twist on a story would be Beulah the Witch, who's afraid of Halloween. And they say you write your stories after your own life, so probably I was afraid of Halloween. But the Magic Scepter makes her be brave and see that those were children behind those masks, not monsters.
Were you afraid of Halloween?
I guess I was. I didn't even realize it.
Because when you write, the truth happens to come out. So
It
you learn
does.
a lot about yourself through writing.
And you obviously know that part too, because you're
Yes.
author-illustrator.
Yes, I learn a lot about myself when I write, and it's quite eye-opening. It is. It's,
Definitely.
So
definitely. You find out about yourself when you write books.
yes, and so being dyslexic, it must be harder to write. It's harder to read.
It is. For me, it's harder to write because you want to get a child's book from 300 to 500 words, and you have to keep culling that story down and still make it make sense, yet make it readable for the child to understand as well as comprehend and read.
Right. Well, that's a challenge with picture books. Is they have to be shorter, but they have to have the same amount of, oomph and
Punch.
content. But it has to be so little words, and people don't realize that when you write a book, and you have to chop all those words out, and you have to keep the most important ones.
Exactly, and not make them a hard word or a challenging word. Yet there are sometimes you want the child to learn a new word, so you keep repeating it through the story.
Right. So I have to ask you this: were there any mentors in your life?
There definitely was one lady who I absolutely adored, and her name is Erin Whalen.
Me?
It is, it is. I really could not have done the book self-publishing at all. Probably maybe go to a big publishing company, but I didn't want to do that. So somehow I think I went to a writer's group and they mentioned your name, and I contacted you and had a wonderful series of lessons on how to actually self-publish.
And are you glad that you self-published instead of?
Definitely, definitely.
The benefits outweigh.
Definitely benefits. I keep my story the way I want it. I keep my drawings. Granted, I get editors to read through it, make sure I don't make any mistakes. I get a storyline from other people. Is it making sense if you read the drafts? And of course, with the help of Erin, I was able to find out how to get barcodes, how to get some of your information on copyright pages, which is very necessary to protect your writing,
Right.
your story, your characters, and trademarking everything. So thank you.
Well, thank you for mentioning me. I did have such a good time meeting you and teaching you the different ways of doing things. Because when I started out, I just relied on the internet, and I picked up as much information as I could. It was in 1999 when not everybody was doing it, and when you did it, it was early too. Now there's a lot of people self-publishing, but you were another one of those ventures that a lot of people hadn't done it yet. So
And
I have to say I'm very proud of you, the books
Thank
that you
you.
made. They're beautiful. I still remember going to SCBWI conference with you. We had a good time.
we had a wonderful time in New York that time.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
So
and learned so much from other authors and illustrators that were not self-published.
right, and a lot of them will look at self-published people, and we used to carry a stigma. You know, we weren't good enough. But now that so many people are doing it, it's become, oh, you're the brave one that braved the frontier. And you even took it a step further, because I tell a lot of people about you and how you've self-promoted and you've done all this stuff, but you have a permanent booth at the Big E Festival, right?
Oh, I do. Yes, this past year, I was invited to go to the Big E, which is our big New England State Fair, and there are 6 buildings of the 6 New England states, and I'm in the Rhode Island building as a permanent vendor. So I have built up a little booth, like a little store myself, and it's 17 days in the fall, 11-hour days, but it's wonderful. I finally have a little store outlet that I call my little store, as you have this beautiful store here. Mine's only 17 days, and it's a lot of fun, exhausting, but I really get to meet a lot of the children, the adults, the grandparents, and it's been a fun way to interact.
Right, so you do a lot of self-promoting and you do a great job at it, obviously. You also went ahead and not only wrote the books, but didn't you made little night lights and puzzles? And
Yeah, exactly. For 2 reasons. For me, that's my regular day job, as I call a day job, because I was a product designer. So that was fairly easy just to pick up on a product line. And yes, I do have night lights that match all my books and puzzles. But the real reason I did it was because I usually write a book a year, and I just didn't have time to write a book last year because of doing the Big E, building my store. And this year I'll be there again, God willing. But I will have a new book, and again, it's going to be that 5th book on birthdays. And I better not show up if I don't have it there by September.
isn't that awful? Like every year I do the Situate Art Festival, and every year they're like, don't you have a new book yet? But, you know, we're trying to market other ones. My next one's a novel, so it's not quite as, fast. And, you open the store at the Big E, I'm opening the store here. So as self-publishers, we need to get ourselves out there. We don't have the big publisher behind us to say, here she is,
Right.
So.
And even if you are with a publisher, you really have to go out and self-promote your books as well. I mean, it's just, they can help a little bit, but you really need to go out. So I said, let's do it
Right.
ourselves.
But especially if it's a name that nobody knows, like you could say, I'm from Dutton Publishing or I'm from Sam, automatically you have a little bit of respect. But when you're a self-publisher, they want, who are you? So you have to kind of build up your name. So it's great that you're doing the Big E thing, because you're going to be a brand at the Big E now.
Right.
Like I dressed up as a witch at the art festival every year, so I'm now the witch on the front lawn at the art festival. But you have to do those types of things.
Right.
You have to get creative.
Do I have to tell you I wore bunny ears once to sell my bunny book?
The things you have to do. Now, you also told me that you have a real Reginald Rabbit.
Oh, I do. I was able
Can
to
you show us a picture of Reginald?
Oh, Reginald himself, sure. He's the wisest and oldest little character, little rabbit in all of Carrotville. But I was going to say, when I do a book signing with Reginald, I actually found a white rabbit. He's probably about 4 to 5 feet tall if I have him, and I sit him in a chair. Actually, I put him in my car seat and buckle him in when I go somewhere. And I dressed him up just like this little Reginald. Oh, and at the Big E, I actually was able to bring the Magic Scepter with me. So if anybody wants to come to the Big E and see the Magic Scepter, they can hold it, get their picture taken, and you can pounce it on the ground 3 times, and it'll ring a magical ring.
And you made that yourself as well.
Well, yes, I did, but I actually got it from Santa from the North Pole, yes.
See that? You're handy. You just create things. So you're like a marketer's dream. You can market yourself wonderfully.
Thank you.
So what are your plans from here? You have the birthday book planned?
Birthday book planned. I may do one more book in this. Well, I know I'm going to do one book on the Magic Scepter. Where did it come from? Why is it stored in Santa's North Pole village? It's all going to be a imagination just on the magic scepter. And then I may do one on a little character I introduced in my fourth book on Eldred, the little elf who had his first tooth taken with Tina. However, Eldred is a little elf and in Santa's village that will try to want to take some of the magic. So that may be a whole story about Eldred, the magical elf who wants to steal the magic scepter.
See, so that's interesting, because as you're writing, you probably got a special relationship going with that little Eldred. And then it spawns off into another story.
Exactly. You can just find it so many different areas of any book.
Right. That's why you don't get writer's block, do you?
No.
I don't understand that people get that.
wood.
I can't even imagine having writer's block. So when you're done writing a book, who is the first person like you show your manuscript to before you, like I know you said you give it to an editor. Is there a certain person that you show it to first, or?
No, I have certain people I trust. There's one gentleman that he's an adult, and he gets himself down to a little kid, and he reads the book, and if it doesn't make sense to him, I really know I've got to come back and work on the book again. But I do have other people looking at the book. I actually do have children read my draft. Read it and look at the pictures, because I, again, talk with my words, talk with my pictures, and if they don't understand the story and the way it's going, I have to kind of retract and look at that book again. So I haven't read, I'm sure. I have to tell you, I talked with Mark Brown, the author of Arthur, and I remember we met him at the seminar with the SCBWI conference in New York, and I remember him saying, I asked him, I've been writing and writing and rewriting. Is there something wrong? He said, I don't show any story to my editor till I read it, till I rewrite it 40 times. 40 times.
Wow, that's a lot of times.
So don't get discouraged if you have to keep rewriting your story, because that's the way you get it to where it's going to be working.
That's how you get it perfect. And a lot of people will look at a picture book and say, oh, that's not writing, because it's so little. And I don't think picture book writers get the respect they deserve.
I agree.
Not even close.
Many times I have to throw out drawings because I've gone a different direction. And that's hard for me to do, because they're all my children.
Do you throw out the drawing?
Not literally.
But
they're not in the book.
Right. I have some that didn't quite make the cut. And I look back and I'm like, oh, I remember that. That's the way the story was going to go.
Right.
But and that's a good thing you can show it if you ever do a workshop for kids, a writing workshop. You can always show those. I use those as a tool sometimes to say, this is how the writing was going to go, but you can change your story. And even mistakes are good. You should always hold on to those.
To an author illustrator and listened to him, and he said, what's the one thing that I do constantly? And that was a question he asked to the audience, and he says, I make mistakes. He said, but every mistake you learn by it. And I thought that was a very good one.
So
too.
Mistakes are actually very good to make, because you get to learn from them.
Right.
I know that I mentored you for these books, and that makes me very proud. But did you have a mentor growing? Like, I didn't ask you this at first, but did you ever want to be a writer when you were little?
No, I always knew that drawing was going to be a big part of my life. I knew that I liked the working with hard materials. So that led me to industrial design, like I said, which is product designing. So this has kind of been a fun part. It wasn't my goal, but it's been a wonderful offshoot from it. And the drawing part has always been a part of my life. So yeah, this is how it actually took place, and I enjoy this part. Now I could be retired, and I can't. I've got the following that people want the next book, the next book, the next book.
And you have a very good following.
Seems to be.
I have people
pleased.
coming into the store asking for your book.
Thank you.
Didn't
realize.
You're one of my most popular authors.
Well, thank you very much.
You have a great series going, and I hope you continue it. Like you said, you have the birthday one coming up, and
yep. birthdays, the magic scepter.
It'd be interesting to see how many come out of that line, because right now I did mentor you and now you're ahead of me. So I have to get moving on mine.
Yes, crack the whip on you this
Crack
time.
the whip. No, yeah, now you have to mentor me.
I think you're just doing fine.
Okay, we'll see. I do ask all the authors that come to the Authors Clubhouse if they have a secret that they could indulge that you never told anybody else. It could be a silly one. It could be, is there anything you can tell us about Joan Klatil Creamer that nobody knows that you haven't told anybody?
Oh, I'm usually, I hate to say it, a little, I want to say blabbermouth, so there, I can't think
so
of
you
any.
have no secrets because you tell everybody everything all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to know how something happened in the story, I tell it. I mean,
So your secret is that you can't keep a secret.
well, that's not true, really. But thank you, I'm being honest right now.
Okay, so we won't get a secret out of you.
Probably I'm too serious.
You're too serious?
I like that you're a little more letting go with everything. And
Yeah, well,
that's good.
sometimes you have to let go. But I think because you're so serious, maybe that's why your books come out just so. Like
Well,
you don't let anything get by.
I don't.
Meticulous.
One thing that might be interesting for other authors or illustrators, especially illustrators, I usually don't work with music because I have found I draw with the beat. So if it's a fast beating musical, I'm drawing very fast.
That's interesting.
If it's slow, I go too slow. So finally I just said, I'm sorry, no more music.
So no music at all? You can't do
No.
classical or
No.
something comic?
Can't. It's sad.
It messes with the
because
tempo of your hand.
It does usually, and
Oh, that's
sometimes
funny.
if it's too fast, I make mistakes, and I don't want to do that. So even with the thought process of creating where the story's going to go, I can't have music, and it takes me, and that's sad because I love music, and it takes me a while to get back in that genre of wanting the music back, and I go, why haven't I listened? I love music,
Right.
but that's just, if that's a secret, that
So
might
you don't,
be
but
it.
you don't have any kids running around in your house, so you don't have any noise
Only
bothering
kitties.
you. Kitties. How many kitties do you have?
Well, I had 3. I'm down to 1 now,
Oh.
and he is in my little Beulah. He's Pumpkin Puss in the story.
Oh, he's a star.
He made his debut. I have children writing to him emails just to Pumpkin Puss. At home, he's Shelby.
Do you read these emails to Shelby?
Every once in a while, I'll say, "You're a famous star today," and I give him a little treat.
That's sweet.
But yes, it does help to study animals that way when you're doing your research, and it made it so much easier to draw a cat because I had a cat. And
Right.
little Shelby's a little fluffy little kitty in this book, who
Well, that-
always wanted to be black, white, by the way. He gets his little zip-up costume for Halloween,
Oh, so he dresses up as a cat, but a black cat.
a black cat. I
Very
don't know
good.
if you want to see that picture. Of
I
course,
think we have-
I'm so visual again. I've got to show his little outfit. So this is little Shelby in his outfit. He's a
Oh, I see the little
blonde-
zipper up the front. He's riding on the
zipper,
broom.
and he's got candy corn teeth to make him look mean
Oh,
because he is
that's
so
very
sweet.
cute.
But again, I talk with pictures.
Yes. Well, you've done a wonderful job with your pictures and your words.
Thank
And
you.
I'm sure the kids will all across the world will thank you for that. I do have a lot of kids that come in here, and your book is the first one they pick up. Not just saying that to be nice, it is the first one they pick up. They love them. So thank you
you.
for coming, and thank you for spending time with the kids today. And
It was fun.
I have one more thing to ask of you,
Yes.
and that's if you could sign my Authors Clubhouse book
Of course.
and write me a little note in there telling me how you enjoyed the day,
All right.
or if you didn't.
I did. Thank you,
And
Erin.
while Joan's signing that, I'd like to turn my attention to the audience and let you know that next week with us we'll have Leslie Bullion will be interviewed. She's the author of The Trouble with Rules, and she'll be here next week. We'll be interviewing her. If there's an author or illustrator that you'd like to see at the Story Emporium in the Authors Clubhouse, please give us an email. You can go to our website at www.thestoryemporium.org and let us know who you'd like to see here. We'll do our best to get them here because at the Story Emporium, all characters are welcome.